Hello and welcome to today's Just Chopsing Podcast. And today with David and myself, we have Doug Aldrich from the Daisies, amongst other bands including Whitesnake, Dio, Burning Rain, Lion, is it, Doug?
Yeah. Lion was my
Hurricane
first. Lions were my
House.
first band. Yeah.
Ah, right,
How you guys
okay.
doing? What's
Good man,
shaking?
and you?
Yeah, we're good, man. Thanks. How are
I'm
you?
good. I'm practicing for the UK tour right now.
Yeah, yeah. As we just found out, you're coming to Cardiff next in 2 weeks.
Yeah, a couple weeks. So, or a little. I don't have the dates in front of me, but we will be in Cardiff, and the rest in England.
Ah, right, okay.
So we
I
got
mean,
the
I only saw a post earlier about you on your Instagram. You were coming in February, but
that is yes, that is a European tour that we're doing to make up dates that we had to cancel or not cancel but postpone from 20, and so we're going to start February 2nd, I guess, something like that, in Germany somewhere we start. And but yeah, we're coming in about on the 27th of October. We leave for the UK.
ah, right, okay.
So we have, including Cardiff, we have 8 shows, and with majority of them is with the London. I'm sorry, not the London. Just the choir boys.
Ah,
Choir
right, okay, yeah, yeah, yeah.
boys. So
Cool.
we're really up for that. It's going to be great, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. That'd be amazing. So, let's learn a bit about you, Doug, if we can.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, where are you from exactly?
Well, I grew up I grew up in the East Coast, but I've basically lived in California since I was 18. So, I'm basically a Californian. But I
Okay.
grew up on the East Coast. I was born in North Carolina and lived in Maryland for a while. These are East Coast states.
Hmm.
And then lived in Pennsylvania, Philadelphia. Philadelphia was really where my family stayed, and that's where they still are. And then I hightailed it out to LA after high school.
So when you
Ah,
were
right, okay.
18, I was on your own, was it, Doug?
Yeah, I had a car and I filled it up with, I had a Marshall half stack, or I had a, maybe, maybe I only had a cabinet at that point. Maybe I had something else as the head, but I had a Gibson Les Paul and a Fender Strat, and and clothes. That's it.
Ah, right, okay.
So I got out here, and I loved it. There was a TV show that featured Los Angeles a lot called the Rockford Files. It was
All
you
right,
guys.
yeah, I remember it, yeah.
You had it over there?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Jim
Oh,
Rockford, it was,
yeah.
who was the actor?
I could see.
James Garner.
Yeah,
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 he
James
did
Garner,
hammer it,
yeah.
wasn't he?
And I used to watch that after school, and I was just like, man, I want to be out there. That's like, and then of course there was a little bit of a music scene happening because of bands like Van Halen. After I moved out to Los Angeles in 1981, it kind of blew up with all the LA strip bands. So that's when Lion, we were more of a British sounding band. We had a British singer. He was from Newcastle area, and our influences were early Whitesnake and Zeppelin and Thin Lizzy, Deep Purple, stuff like that,
Yeah.
Rainbow. So we were not like your typical. We looked like a hair metal band, but our sound was different,
Ah, right,
and
okay.
it was really cool. But we unfortunately didn't get the first record deal because of that. Our sound was not like Poison or Motley Crue, and we signed we signed a bad deal. But that's what happens.
Yeah,
I
a
will
lot of
tell
young bands seem to do the same thing.
I will tell young bands this. I would say the most important thing to do is get a lawyer to look over anything. Don't ever sign anything without a lawyer looking at it and explaining it to you, because the wording, you can't understand it.
Yeah, yeah. I think most agreements are like that from anyone, isn't they? It's like, I mean,
Yeah.
even if you've got a lawyer's agreement, they're pretty tough to understand. You know, the phrasing is,
Yeah.
for
They just
normal people.
I just look at the price when the lawyer says, okay, it's either this much per hour or this is the flat rate to get started. And it's like, okay, so if a guy calls me then I'm not paying. If I call him, then I got to pay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's a good thing, isn't it? I never thought of that. We usually have to pay both ways.
Well, my guy he'll call me up just to check on me, and then he'll start talking about, all kinds of stuff, and I'm like, we're not on the clock, are we? And he goes, oh, no, I called you. But yeah, if he called me back for business, I would pay.
Yeah. All right, cool. So, how old were you when you started playing guitar then, Doug?
I was 11,
Okay.
and I learned some basic chords like an E chord and an A chord like this, and a D chord and a G, and then little by little, I started to learn the intervals, and I started. Hey, that reminds me of.
AC/DC.
Wrong. No, it's Smoke on the Water.
Oh, is it? Oh, I thought it sounded like what's that AC/DC song? Highway to Hell.
Anyway,
Same thing.
it was just that was the way I played the song, and we'd jam on that riff for hours, and then eventually, you found out years later it's not even how you play it.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah, it's in a different key and whatever. But I started at 11, and I just was mesmerized by the guitar.
Yeah. So, did you have like a quality guitar, or did you just have like a cheap store bought?
I got a really cheap guitar from a department store, and a little amp about this big, and I think it was 15 watts. It's an RMS, whatever that means. And I took a couple lessons from a guy, and he told me how bad my guitar was, and of course, I thought it was a great guitar until he said that. Then I started to realize, and I always, I really wanted to have a Gibson. And so maybe a year or two later, I would always cut grass and clean up at the house when I was a kid, and my parents would give me a little money. So I had saved up maybe about $100 or something. And my sister's boyfriend was selling a Gibson Gold Top, a deluxe, Les Paul Deluxe. And so he said $300, and I was like, okay. So my parents fronted me the money to get that guitar, and I never forget. I opened the case, and I looked at it, and I'm looking at, and I see it says Gibson. Okay, cool. And then I looked down, and I was like, wait a minute. I thought you said it was a Gold Top. And he says, it is a Gold Top. That's what it is. And I said, well, I thought a Gold Top was the same kind like Jimmy Page plays. He goes, no. Jimmy Page, that's called a Sunburst. This is a Gold Top. And I was like, pretty ugly, but all right, I'll take it. And it turns out it's my favorite. This is actually not a Gibson. This was a copy of it, kind of by a company called Scala. But now this is my favorite color of any guitar. It's the Gold Top.
Yeah, I was going to say you still got it, but obviously it's not the same one.
No, I've got about 6 or 7 Gold Tops of various things. But my buddy Leo Scala made this for me, and it's a copy of a '54 style Les Paul. But he's got his own tricks and stuff that he does, but it's a great guitar that he made. He named it the Golden Ruby, he named it after my daughter. Her name's Ruby. So
awesome.
I've been taking this on, along with a couple Les Pauls, has been taking this as well.
Yeah. All right. So you joined Dead Daisies in 2016, did you?
Yes. I had basically, in a nutshell, I can tell you, I played in various bands and did lots of sessions and did this and that through the 90s. And in 2001, Ronnie James Dio asked me to join his band. And we had a great time. We made a record, we did a DVD, and we toured the whole year. And it's the first time for me to come to anywhere. I mean, I had been to Europe and stuff, and I played a few gigs here and there, but had never properly played in, say, for example, London. So the first time was with Ronnie. It was amazing. And then later on that year, we were winding up, and David Coverdale asked me if I would be interested in doing he's going to reform Whitesnake and do 2 months, just a 2-month run. And I said, yeah, I would love to, you know, and 2 months turned into like 11 years and a bunch of recording and touring and just a big, great part of my life, you know, great learning experience working and writing with David all the time and learned so much from Dio. But eventually I had a son that was 4 at this time in 2014, and it was getting, I needed to spend time with him. I'd been gone way too much. And so I had to step out of Whitesnake, which was, you know, I knew Whitesnake's going to be fine. They found a great guitar player and carried on. They're still carrying on. And David's amazing. He's like my big bro, but I just needed time with the family. And it's the best decision I ever made, really, because he's the most, you know, the kids are the most important thing in your lives, obviously. So I took this gig in Vegas and I was really bored. It was a great gig. It was like really good money and playing every night I was playing with Howard Leese from Heart and Hugh McDonald from Bon Jovi and Jay Shellen and Robin McCauley, Paul Shortino, Andrew Freeman from Last in Line. All these great.
Was that Raid in the Rock Vault?
Yeah.
Show?
Yeah. So I was doing that, and it was me and Howard and on guitar, and it was a blast. Howard he's an amazing person, amazing musician, great guitar player, great funny guy, man. He's like a rock and roll outlaw, like a real outlaw. Like, don't mess with Howard Leese because he'll pull out a knife and he will slice you. He's like that. I go, well, he would always give me knives for Christmas or birthday or something. I go, well, why not? He'd lay out his knives backstage. All his knives would be on this dressing room. I go, well, how come you don't just wear one on stage? And he goes, you know, that's a good idea. And he took the biggest one and he's strapping on every night. But anyway, I was just getting burned out with that gig, and I'd been in hot. I mean, Vegas is amazing, but it was just hot.
Yeah.
I still had my home in LA, so I came back here, and right at that time, Glenn Hughes called me and said, "Hey, I'm doing this tour. My guitar player can't make it. Could you do it? I need somebody I can trust, you know." And I'd known Glenn for a long time anyway. So I did that, and that got me back on the road. And then I got a call from the Dead Daisies that Guns N' Roses was forming, and I knew about the Daisies because, you know, Brian Tishy and Marco and John Corabi were all buddies of mine. And then they said that Richard and Dizzy were going to be heading back they were going to reform Slack and all that. So they offered me the job and said, we're going to make a new record with you and make a fresh start. And so I joined in 2016. So that's up till the Dead Daisies.
Yeah. Because I saw an interview with you with David Coverdale, actually. It was like 10 questions or something on the internet, you know. And, I mean, I bet you couldn't believe your luck, really, could you? Because, I mean, you look like such a fan. You know, you come across as such a fan of these bands.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you're playing with them, and it's like, wow, it's like a magic moment, really.
Well, it really is. I mean, when I was a kid, if you told me I would have been playing with, my first exposure to Dio was Rainbow on stage, the live album with Rainbow, and that still, to me, that version of Mistreated is just really special, and that whole album was just incredible guitar playing, and his singing was so. And then I think it was after that, I could be mistaken, but at some point they put out Heaven and Hell with him and Black Sabbath, and so I loved him, and that was like, you know, working with him was incredible. He made me into a much more fierce guitar player, like more the way he owned the stage. You know, it was like really. Yeah. It was like how you would imagine Stevie Ray Vaughan would be, like, you know, there's no fear. I don't care. Turn the recording light on. I haven't warmed up yet. Let's go, you know. And that's how Ronnie was. We did a gig once in London in 2005. I was filling in again, and we were late. His friend wanted to drive us to the gig, and he got lost in London, and it was raining, and we were videoing it that night. We were going to do a video shoot, and it was like we were late, and Ronnie didn't get a chance to warm up. He basically just got a chance to put his clothes on, and we jumped on stage, and he was killer. And he actually had a cold too. He had a cold, and that's how Ronnie was. And then to get the offer with David, I was like, wow, it's incredible. 2 months, it's gonna be like a joyride, because I loved early Whitesnake, and I loved the Slide It In album too, especially was like the last one. I mean, of course, the '87 record was a phenomenal record for songs and guitars, and so yeah, I was very excited about that. But later we started to hit it off, and start writing a lot, and that was an amazing experience. Just me and David brainstorming musical ideas, and it's really, really cool. So if you had told me at that time that I was listening to, say, Burn album or Heaven and Hell, that I would be working with those guys, that would have probably would have not been able to pull it off, because I just wouldn't have believed it, That doesn't make any sense. And then Glenn Hughes as well. I mean, as a guitar player, you're always looking, and I've had a lot of other singers too that I've worked with that have blown me away. But those are three, greats there.
Yeah,
I would say.
Because did you have Michael Devin in your trio?
Michael Devin's a great singer.
Yeah, he's awesome.
In fact, I was just texting with Michael. I hadn't talked to him for a while. I'm just trying to find out where he is. But he was singing in a trio with me and Brian Tishy, thing we were doing just basically for fun. We would just kind of tear through different covers and do our own versions of stuff. Like we would do Beat It from Michael Jackson or whatever. And it was a blast. Somebody, all of a sudden Tishy might play something, and I would be like, wait a minute. And it's like, he would play something that made me think of that, and I'd start playing that, and then he'd start going into the drum beat of I Shot the Sheriff, and we'd just go for it, It's like Michael Devin is one of those guys that he knows every lyric. It's like any rock song that you come up with, he knows all the lyrics. It's just like they come to him right before. It's incredible.
Yeah, he's got a great voice. I mean, but you seem to have worked with great singers, to be honest. I mean, David Coverdale's a fantastic vocalist, and Dio was the same. I mean, I'm lucky enough to have seen Dio in, I think, 94, 95, I guess. He played in Newport Centre. So nice. So I might, I don't think David would have seen him, but
no, I've not seen Dio.
He was incredible live. You can see him on DVD and stuff still. And I did 2 DVDs with him. He did one with Viv, and he did one with Tony Iommi, Heaven and Hell DVD, and then there's tons of bootleg stuff. But awesome guy and singer, and John Corabi too. I don't want to leave out John Corabi. John Corabi, I knew John from my days in Philadelphia in the 70s. During high school, he was singing in a band, and then we all moved out to LA in the early 80s. But I'd known John, and John's a great singer and a great guy.
Yeah.
He would make, the Daisies shows with John are definitely have a backyard barbecue party vibe to them, because it's very, like hanging out together, cracking jokes, playing some music. And now we've got Glenn Hughes, and it's a totally different thing. He's very really charming, and he's got great stories, and he really connects with the fans. But it's different. It's more of a musical thing now than a
party type vibe.
Yeah, and they're both great. They're both good things. But Glenn is such a force, man. I mean, the way he still can sing, and his bass playing. So you hear it on Holy Ground, and you're gonna hear, if you come see us, or for those people that do come see us on this UK tour, we will you will be surprised. We're gonna have more power than the album. we've got Tommy
Okay.
Confettis. Yeah.
Yeah, because you just finished touring the States for that album then?
Yep.
That was, what day was that, Wednesday or Thursday, I think?
Yeah, we finished last Friday, and we got home Saturday, and we're leaving on the 27th to come over. But we're ready, man. It's like the band is seriously rehearsed. We've done, I guess, 25 shows or whatever. So they've been spread out a little bit because of, COVID stuff. But so we're up for it. We can't wait.
Yeah. I know there was a lot of disappointed fans at the Steelhouse a few years ago.
Yeah.
When you couldn't land your helicopter.
Well, no, we weren't going to take a helicopter. It was the plane got grounded where we were going to fly to. It wasn't allowed to take off because they closed the airport or whatever.
Oh, right, okay.
And we were going to fly and then take trucks, like drive-through trucks, and we couldn't get there. So no matter what we did, if we started, we were, that's the thing. We were too far away from the gig. If we had been staying in that area, then we would have been there.
Yeah.
And there was the band got a bad rap about that, but if we wanted to play, we would have played. We'd play anywhere. We don't care.
Was that the weekend of the really bad weather, Dave?
Yeah. The weather was awful. It was bad, because
it was
wherever we wouldn't make it either.
I don't know where we were, but the flight, we planned on taking a flight on a private plane, and couldn't take off. And so we decided, okay, we can try and drive, but when we looked at the estimation of time, we weren't going to make it. And it was just like, what the hell? And so look, my apologies to anybody that was upset with the band. Of course, we didn't want to let anybody down. But it was a good opportunity for somebody. I forget who it was. It was Black Star Riders or somebody had a go at us, saying like, yeah, the helicopter couldn't take off, so they decided not to come. What a bunch of,
Yeah.
So that helped rile up the fans a little bit. That wasn't necessary, but it's okay.
Yeah.
I'm here to say I apologize on behalf of the band, and it probably will never happen again. And if we ever were lucky enough to play that festival, we would tear it up. We did it a year earlier or something like that. It's a great festival. Killer people, great time. And if I remember, the weather was kind of shite back then too. A little bit.
To be fair, I went this year and the weather was actually glorious. But it was
really
the first time. Yeah, it was the first time in probably, 6 years that I've been. And apart, normally you've got tents flying away. You wake up in the morning and people have gone home because they can't handle it. And it's Wales. That's just. It's always going to be bad weather in Wales, unfortunately.
Well, it was good people that were there, and it was a great audience. And I would love the opportunity to play there again at some point. It would be really cool. We'll see what happens.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes things are out of your control, and you can't do anything about it. So,
well, definitely is out of my control. I've played with Whitesnake. We played a couple of things where I was just one time in Bulgaria. I mean, it came down so hard that I could, my pedal board, everything started getting wet, and I could hear my guitar getting quieter and quieter. Like it got wet in the pickups or something, and I was just like, give me another guitar, And it was just sheets of rain coming down. There was nothing, and then of course the next date we had to cancel because when rescheduled because all the gear was
soaked.
Yeah,
I bet.
But these things happen. I mean, weather at a gig is kind of, if you can get through it and play it, people love you.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
they have they'll stay in the rain. They don't care. I don't know if it's freezing rain. Maybe that's different. But this was in the summertime. It was a summer storm, so it was really nice actually have that energy of people rocking out. It's pouring down rain. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
Right.
I read on the internet once about you auditioning for Kiss.
Yeah.
And I mean, obviously I took it off Wikipedia or whatever. But then you contacted Gene Simmons a few months later and he told you to lose his number.
Yeah.
Is that true?
Yeah.
But then in 2016, was it you supported him on tour?
Yeah. We've always been friends ever since that. You know, like he was he hit me up in 1991 to I had done a session with a band called House of Lords, and we had done some demos. Their guitar player left for some reason, and I played on some demos for them, and he was trying to get me to join the band. I was already committed to another band touring, but I said, "Do you remember the last time you spoke to me, Gene?" And he goes, "Yeah, I hung up on you." And I was like, "Yeah, that's right." So don't beat me up about, you know, that I've committed to another band. I'll play on the record, but I can't carry on after that. So, and then I'd see him periodically. There used to be this thing in Los Angeles called Tai Bo. It was like a workout thing, you know.
And Blanks.
Gene, yeah, Billy Blanks.
That's right.
That's exactly right, Dave. And so you'd go in there, and in the back row there'd be Gene huffing and puffing, you know, trying to keep up. And I'd run into him once in a while here and there. He was always really nice. And you know, I think I came out to Los Angeles, and it happened to be they were looking for a guitar player, and a girl came and said, "I think you should audition. You're really a good player, you know." And so I said, "Well, I don't really believe that. I'll believe it when I see it that's true." I had no way of knowing or getting a hold of anybody, but she came 2 weeks later. We played again, the band I was in, and she came back and brought Eric Carr to the gig, and he goes, "Well, I want you to audition." I'm like, "Wow!" And I wasn't for sure it was him, but he had the right hair, but people had not seen them without their makeup at that point.
Yeah.
So he called me. I didn't have a phone at my house at that time, but I was working in a music store, and he called me on a Saturday and said, "Come down and meet the guys." And I met them, and it was just bizarre. You know, I remember playing on some of the songs on Creatures of the Night as an audition in the studio. They wanted to see what I would play, and the good thing came out of it was Gene goes, "Hey, Doug, can you play a major scale on this song a little bit? Use some more major notes." I go, "Well, what is that?" He goes, "You know, do, re, mi, fa, so." I was like, "Oh man, of course I can do that." And I thought of Michael Schenker, because in, you know, minor pentatonic is here, and then major pentatonic is more, major. So I was thinking of Michael Schenker, because Michael Schenker would go, he'd mix the two. So I did that, and he was like, "Oh, cool." So he wrote down some songs, and we got together and played. But it made me realize, okay, I need to learn about music. I got to get better and learn about music. So then we played, and it was the first time playing through multiple Marshall stacks. It was freaking loud, and it was amazing for me, you know, to play through 8 cabinets that were all turned on, all for me. And then I got invited back another time, and it's hilarious. So basically, you know, these guys were rock stars. I was just a kid, you know. They're talking about dating. I think Gene was dating Diana Ross at the time, and Paul had a famous girlfriend. And I was just like, could not relate to these guys. And I think that's the biggest thing about trying to get it to join a band. More important than your playing is, can you hang out with this guy on the road? Because that's more what it's about. You know, of course I could play the guitar fine, but, you know, I don't think they would be comfortable with a kid, you know, on the tour bus. And so a couple weeks later, I called Eric. I go, "How's it going?" He goes, "Yeah, I think we got somebody. You know, he said, "Listen, you played really great. We think you're great, and you're gonna do well, but you need some more experience. I mean, you've never been on the road, and it's not like always fun like you think, you know."
Yeah.
I said, "Okay, well, you know, thank you," and that was it. And then when they were coming to town, I told my buddies, I'll I'll see if I can, because Gene had given me his number. So I'll call him up, and he was just, who? Lose this number.
Okay.
But then, and I tell that story to Gene still, and he laughs. He thinks it's hilarious, you know.
Yeah.
Of course, why would you call me the day before the show? I got things to do. I was having a party.
Yeah, just check us a couple of free tickets, Gene, and we'll be okay.
I was asking for like 6, I think. I had everybody, you know, I thought, hey, why not? You know, and it's true. There's no harm in asking. And I was polite about it. I didn't get mad. I was more like, you know, just that I hope I didn't upset him, you know, but
yeah. Have you supported them more times then, Kiss?
We did the Kiss cruise with the Dead Daisies. We've done the Kiss cruise. They've done it 3 times, I believe, overall. I've done it twice with the Dead Daisies, and and that's a super fun cruise. If you're a Kiss fan, you have to do that, because it's 24/7 everywhere you look, and every piece of music you hear is Kiss, and it's just super intensified, like it's like the opposite of if you were trying to detox off something, it's the opposite. You're gonna get jammed full of Kiss, and it's for, you know, like I say, if you're a Kiss fan, you must.
Yeah, you love it. Yeah. Do you have any trouble with your hearing then, Doug?
My hearing?
Yeah.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, you do. I was going to say, you know, do you use in-ears or anything, or?
I do. So basically, I didn't know how to use in-ears properly. So all the time with Whitesnake, I was using in-ears, and I just asked for a kind of a clean mix. Reb Beach used to say, I just make it sound like Frampton Comes Alive in my ears, and that's what I want. Live record, you know.
Yeah.
So I was kind of like going for that, and I'd make small adjustments, maybe a little more of this or a little less of that. But little by little, I'd end up cranking it more and more and more and more, and to the point where it was, and I had already had a little hearing damage because I had gotten my head blown off by Ronnie a couple times when he would sing a note through the side fill, and excruciatingly loud on stage. And then he wanted me to be louder than him, which was, it kept getting louder and louder. So, but anyway, with Whitesnake, I started using in-ears, and I'm using them incorrectly, and it was just they got louder and louder. And I started having a little ringing after a tour. And then with the Dead Daisies, I was using them for 3 years, and same thing, cranking it to the point where it was like my head was just ringing. I couldn't hear properly. I was having a hard time pitching and singing. So I started pulling them out and just listening to the backline, the backline again. Yeah. And then I decided, you know what? I had done a couple gigs in between, and I decided to use the foamies and just force myself to keep them in and get used to that. And that seemed to help a lot. I could get my pitch better. I could hear better and less ringing. But by now, this ear has constantly got tinnitus. It's like right now it's, and so that's my good ear. But I was using the foamies on the first 9 dates of this Get Out of the House tour with the Dead Daisies, and front of house engineer said, you got to get back on the in-ears, because, you know, whenever you go away from your amps, we're having to chase you on stage with monitors, and it's a lot of extra work. I go, yeah, man, but those things are just beating me up, the in-ears. And but I told him, I said, look, I'll give it a shot. I'm going to try something different. And what I basically did was just put only my guitar and only Glenn's voice and my voice. That's it. And turn it down so low that I hear the back line muffled. I hear the drums a little muffled, but then I can hear Glenn's voice and my voice and my guitar. And it's been working out. So I haven't been doing extra damage, but it's constantly like, you know, if like last night I went to a baseball game with the family and my son was clapping, and it's like one of those claps just went right in, and it's like, you know, it's just a problem. I'm going to be on hearing aids at some point. I mean, it's unfortunate, but that's just the way. So advice to anybody that's a concert goer or around loud things, definitely protect your ears, because when you get in your 50s and later in my 60s and 70s, it's going to be rough.
Yeah, I know, yeah. I've got tinnitus in one of my ears from
Yeah.
loud music, from, multiple
That-
Motorhead gigs, and I see, like I
yeah,
said,
yeah,
I've
yeah,
seen Dio and Iron Maiden a few times, and you know,
yeah,
these things are loud, man.
Yeah,
yeah.
I
And
wear
if you
plugs
get,
now when I go to gigs.
yeah,
Plugs, definitely, yeah.
if you get tinnitus, it doesn't technically won't go away, so you don't want to get it.
No, I know. I've got it already. I've had it for a
Yeah,
long time, but I've got
yeah,
it mostly now. I've got it pretty much constant now. So I'm 55 as well. So
Mm.
yeah.
and so who would you say is your ultimate guitar hero?
I mean, it varies. I mean, the ultimate would probably be, if I was forced to pick, would be Jimmy Page, because of his he is like the whole package. I mean, he had the songs and the riffs, and his style was so cool. And when I didn't even know this, but him doing stuff like when he did in the beginning, when they went, I'm sorry, that people had never heard that before, that downstroke, 16th notes or 8th notes, whatever. It was like people were just like, what? It was like seeing Hendrix,
Yeah,
and the songs, his songwriting, I mean, and the riffs, like that. He does it. I think he does it like that, but I always would go downstroke. That's how I learned it. And stuff like Kashmir, the Rain song. I mean, it's just, and Black Dog, that whole thing. I mean, I know they all wrote it together, but his guitar playing was just superb for me.
yeah.
And the live versions of Dazed and Confused, and Babe, since I've been loving you, just the opening. Oh, sorry. It's just killer, So if I have held to it, it would be Jimmy Page. But I love Gary Moore. I love Stevie Ray Vaughan. Jeff Beck was probably my first exposure to an amazing guitar sound. The Blow by Blow record. When I heard that, it starts up. And it goes into the line and everything, and because we ended as lovers that was my favorite song. I think because it covered, he had a beautiful melody, and it also covered, style that was really rock and roll, and you could really hear his fingers on the strings. And then Peter Frampton Comes Alive was big at that time.
Yeah.
But I eventually, through friends, discovered I didn't know about bands like Deep Purple or Rainbow or UFO until I got around in grade school, 10th year, 9th or 10th year. The only heavy metal bands, I mean, Zeppelin wasn't really heavy metal, but I knew about Black Sabbath because prior to me playing guitar, I wanted to join this gang of kids, wasn't a gang of bad kids. It was just like older kids that they would hang out together, and they had a name. And they said, okay, if you want to join this club, then that's what it was, like a boys club. If you want to join this club, you got to go get the Black Sabbath single for Iron Man.
Okay.
So I told my mom, can we go to the store? And I got the single, and it had Electric Funeral on the other side. And when I heard Iron Man, I was like, wow, that's incredible, the guitar sound and Ozzy's voice and all that stuff. So, but yeah, so all those guys, Iommi, Blackmore, later when, some American guitar players like Joe Perry and Ted Nugent, and the Eagles and Allman Brothers, all that stuff was really, I really loved it. Leonard Skinner, of course. But then Van Halen came out, and it was just like, what the hell is this? It just smoked me so bad. I can't tell you.
Were you ever fortunate enough to play with any of them guys?
I did a jam one time in Michael Anthony, I think was on bass. It was with Sammy Hagar. So that's why I want to say Michael Anthony was on bass. But I met him a few times. Are you talking about all those guys I've
all your guitar heroes, if you like.
I've never, not so much jam with them, but I've had an opportunity to meet them, and I've always been pleasantly surprised how nice these people are. They're just normal guys.
Yeah.
To us, these are like our heroes, But Jimmy Page is just a normal, nice guy. I was with Whitesnake. We did a gig in it was in Brighton, England, and it was on the Monsters of Rock tour. It had Gary Moore supporting us in Y&T. I loved Y&T, and of course Gary Moore is like one of the most ferocious guitar players ever, with a ton of melody. And so I got to meet Gary that day for the first time, and it was awkward, but he was very shy, and it took a minute, and then he was okay. But at first I thought he didn't like me. So then that day on stage, and Marco Mendoza had said something about Jimmy Page being there, and I was like, yeah, right, come on. And then I thought, whoa, he does know David, but then I was like, man, he's just winding me up. So we get off stage, and he goes, hey, Jimmy Page is outside. I go, come on, Marco. And I open the door, and I go, Jimmy, what are you doing? He goes, oh, I'm just waiting for David, Go, well, come hang out with us, man. Come on. And he came in, and it was like super nice guy. And he liked, we were just talking about gear, equipment. And he would light up when he was talking about gear. He didn't want to hear about all the typical stuff like, hey, what's it like being Jimmy Page? How do you do this? Or what's it like to do that? He was more interested in the technical stuff. Like, I said, Jimmy, can I ask you a question? Like, your main Les Paul, I mean, is that like, it should be locked up in like a vault or something, right? Because he goes, well, my guitar tech takes care of it. And then another time I asked him, Jimmy, your acoustic sound live was always so great, man. I'm really struggling with that. And he pulls me aside. We're walking to the stage. We were getting ready to play. This is another time when he came out to see David. And he goes, what you got to do, listen, there's the trick. You get a Barkus Berry piano pickup and you stick it on the front, and you don't run it through your Marshalls because it won't work. You got to run it through the front house PA. I was like, whoa. And I was like, okay, Jimmy, we got to go, man, because it's like everyone was already on stage, and I'm still talking to Jimmy Page backstage. But a very kind man. I know there's, lots of stories, but all you can go by is your personal experience. But, and one of the other ones that was most important to me, I did get an opportunity to meet Jeff Beck. That was cool. He honestly, didn't care about me. He was, I met him from Carmine, and then Carmine, I met him, and then I went back home and I was in bed. He goes, hey man, you want to come to the bar? Jeff's coming down. And I'm like, I'm in bed, dude. He goes, it's Jeff Beck, bro. So okay, I'm coming. So I go to the bar, and I get in the elevator, and I see Jeff, and Carmen goes, hey Jeff, remember you met Doug? Hey man, how's it going? It's like, looking around. So I hung out for a minute, and then I went back home. But then I met him again with David, and he was really nice to my wife. But I said, yeah, I got a chance to meet you before. He's like, yeah, cool. That was it, but yeah, there's always, it's really been, I never thought I'd meet any of these guys, or let alone play with the guys I've played with. So been very lucky.
I mean, well, you're a great guitar player, so,
Well, thank you.
I don't think there's any, what's the right sort of phrase? I don't know how to say it really. I don't think you've done anything really wrong. You know, you're a great guitar player. You've obviously learned your craft really well. Maybe you've been lucky enough to be in the right place at the right time. I don't know.
Yes,
You
definitely
know.
lucky is a good way to put it, because there's a lot of guys that will put me in the weeds,
Oh yeah, for sure.
So you got to be, you obviously you got to put the work in.
Yeah,
You got to work hard, but it comes from your heart. I mean, the best guitar playing it comes from inside, I think, and that's what my personality is probably complicated. So I've got some melody in my inside that I want to get out, melodies that make me feel good or bad or whatever, but emotional. And then there's times when I'm, it's a, very heavy attack, like I want to, I have a kind of a fight in sometimes, but of all the guitar players, probably one of my biggest direct influences is Gary Moore, because of that, because he would play with a lot of attack, or Randy Rhoads too, but I would say more Gary Moore, because of the melodies. He was more of a blues based, and he'd have this crazy ferocious attack that I've tried to to use in my own way.
Yeah, cool, man. Well, since as you're a world-renowned guitar player, have you ever had any weird fan mail? Anybody thrown any
Yeah.
crazy stuff at you on stage, or?
Well, there's been always, the odd ripping of the trousers and, stuff like that going on stage. And you look down and you're like, oh, okay, get some duct tape, get some gaffer's tape. But, and then there's, times when you're on stage and your guitar just goes dead and you feel, and there's no feeling quite like that. Like, you can make a mistake. You can make a bad mistake on stage, and it will never compare to you playing a really great show, and then your guitar goes out and they can't seem to get it fixed, and the song's going on and on and on, to the point where you go back and try and figure it out. There's no worse experience on stage than that for me. But it fortunately it doesn't happen very often, but it does happen. You just got to be ready for it. But fan mail, I think, all with love. The Japanese are very intense, and they write some very specific fan mail that they'll hand, you'll go by and they'll hand you something. It could be a boy or a girl, and you get in your room and you're looking at it, and it's a 3 pages front and back of really perfect English handwriting, but like very specific questions about whatever, from guitaring to, shampoo or toothpaste or whatever, or, I noticed that I waited for you all day and you said hi to me. It was nice, but I noticed when you came home, you seemed a little drunken. And I'm like, yeah, it's
Okay.
1 a.m. In Tokyo, and I'm, yes, I was, and I'm very concerned about your health. I'm like, well, I'm 23 years old. I think I'll be okay. But thank you. But
all right, cool.
They're very kind, but it's just very like personal stuff.
Yeah. So, did you see today that a Grateful Dead T-shirt has been sold for $17,500?
No, is that right?
Yeah, a 1967 shirt, from the vault, property of Grateful Dead and Friends, sold for $17,640, making it a new world record for the most money spent on a vintage rock shirt.
That's incredible. The Dead, everything about that was those Dead tours. I guess maybe was one-offs, so that would be a valuable thing if you're a collector. And
yes,
these days, I mean, with the prices of everything, that doesn't. I mean, I just did my taxes, and so that doesn't sound like that big a number to me. But
for a T-shirt.
Well, yeah, I'd give you that for a t-shirt. That's a lot. I don't know about in Wales or in the UK, but petrol here is now becoming like we're getting prices that you used to have.
Yeah.
Which is very high for us.
Yeah, we have in Holland as well. I mean, the price of petrol over here is going through the roof. It's like €2 a litre now. Which is what's a euro in a dollar? 180, 190 maybe?
It's a lot.
So that's 180, $190 a litre, which is a lot of money. I mean, you were paying that in America for a gallon, weren't you?
Yeah, we were. That was years ago.
Yeah.
But we're coming up on $5 we're at $5 a gallon now, which I don't think it's.
Oh, it's a lot.
It might have touched there a few years ago, but only for a second. But it's only going to get higher.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to go down anytime soon, to be honest. It's a bit of a worldwide thing going on, phenomenon. Yeah. So
you guys ran out of toilet paper as well during COVID.
We did. We ran out.
You did as well.
I went to when things started to get hairy. I went to this. Do you have Costco? I forgot. Do you have
Costco? Yeah, we do. Yeah, we have a Costco. Yeah.
So I went to Costco and I got a bunch of water because that was my biggest concern. And I got some food and they were out of toilet paper, but I got paper towels. And so that was, I was lucky to get that. And then everything got shut and I didn't want to go out anyway. I don't know if either of you guys have gotten COVID, but I haven't.
Yeah, I did.
I didn't want to get it.
No, you don't want to get it, believe me.
Yeah.
It's rough. So
my missus got it.
Oh, did she?
Yeah, she went to a thing over, not what you're supposed to be doing in lockdown. She went to her girlfriend's house and they were having wine and cheese and whatever. And she came home and a couple days later she had COVID and we had to isolate her. And then I was Mr. Mom, for the next 2 weeks, taking care of the kids. And if I went out of the room where my daughter was, she'd start going, Daddy, where are you? I don't know. I can't see you. It's like, I'm just in the bathroom.
So Ruby is your youngest, is she?
Yeah, Ruby is 5 and Ryder is 12. And I've got Chelsea who is 32. I flipped it.
She's nearly as old as me.
Yeah. Well,
no, not quite.
I hear you.
We all started a lot younger than you did, see?
Yeah.
My kids I got a 28-year-old as well, so.
Yeah. It's good when they're, she does her own thing. She's been in LA for a while and she's getting ready to head to have a little road trip, Colorado, which I just want her to be careful with all this crazy people out on the streets these days. But she's, a girl's going to do what she's going to do at that age.
Yeah.
My daughter basically got me wrapped. My youngest daughter got me wrapped around her finger. I have to work hard to find the right way to say no.
Yeah.
Because constantly she's on me.
Yeah.
When you suss that out, you'd have to let me know because my daughter's 26 and she's still got me like that. She's moved out and married, and I still can't say no.
It's hard. It is hard.
It is.
But it's super fun at this age. She's 5, so it's like that's fun. That's the greatest time. She's very curious and asking all the cool questions.
Yeah, cool, man. Yeah, I've got a 9-year-old, so
that's great.
Yeah. All right, then, mate. We're going to let you go. Thanks for talking to us.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. And
we'll just promote your tour again.
Hopefully we'll see you guys somewhere on the road, and if we're lucky, and if not, we'll meet up next time or as soon as possible.
Yeah. Well, hopefully when you come to, are you going to come to Holland at all?
I think in February we'll be in Holland.
All right, cool. Yeah, hopefully we can meet up then and have a beer.
Yeah, it's a great country. I love it.
Yeah, that'd be cool. All right then, mate. Thanks for joining us.
Boys. Cheers, boys. Thank you so much. Have a great night.
And you. Thanks, Doug. Thanks, mate.
Bye-bye, guys.
Bye-bye.